how's it going? My name is Bianca. Welcome to Vintage on Tap, the YouTube channel that shows you the behind the scenes steps and process of sewing. In this particular video though, we are going to be talking about the anatomy of a full bust adjustment. So I do get a lot of questions about full bust adjustments because I guess that's kind of becoming what I'm known for. So a lot of people ask me a lot of questions about full bust adjustments, and obviously I cannot answer them all because every single version of it is going to be a little bit different. But what I did want to go into today is essentially when you're doing a full bust adjustment, what is actually happening to the pattern piece as you're doing that adjustment. I think knowing this and kind of keeping this in the back of your mind will help so much, not just for like the basic patterns, but you know, as you get into more complicated designs, like essentially you want to be able to replicate those sort of conditions between pattern and pattern, just so that, you know, you can get the result that you want. So I went ahead and just drew out just like this really simple, you know, pattern piece. It's not even from a real pattern. It's just kind of a little drawing. But anyway, so what I did on here is just simple standard one dart bodice, right? We have our bust point here. We have, you know, like the center seam. We have just a regular plain old dart, just a regular neckline. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this. And as I said, this is just so that you guys can get an idea of what happens so that when you move on to something that's a little bit more complicated, you kind of have a good base to start from. So anyway, so I have some scissors, I have my quilting ruler. I have these on my Sewing Start Here page on my website in case you wanted to buy these. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. What am I looking for first? First thing I'm gonna grab is just a pink Sharpie, just so you guys can see. Actually, I'll probably grab the green so it's a little bit easier to see. Now, when you do a regular full bust adjustment, you know, you usually have to draw a total of 3 lines on your pattern, right? So the first one that we're gonna draw is going to be directly down the center of our dart to the bust point. Now that is like our number one thing because we're gonna be splitting along that line, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and draw that there. So that's, I know some places will call it line 1, line 2, but I'm just, yeah, I guess I'll just number it number 1. All right, cool. Next line that you're gonna do is always straight down. So now if you're looking at this bust point here, right? So we're going straight from the side, straight to the bust point. Next thing is straight up. Now the bust point ideally should be right at the apex of your bust, so like the fullest part of your bust. So you're gonna go straight from the bottom, straight up to the top, so, or to the bust point. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw that line now. Now it should be straight up and down. All right, so we got number 2. All right, third line that we're gonna draw, I'm gonna hold it up to myself again. All right, so third line that we're drawing is essentially from the armhole down. Now, the reason that we're doing that is because as you're doing your full bust adjustment, you're gonna need that area to expand on your pattern piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw that in. Now, a lot of places say, oh, you know, a third of the way up on your armhole. I usually do it about a third. This particular line is not an exact science, and I heard a lot of people get really like toe up about it. Like, I don't know where to draw this line. It's like, as long as it's not up like halfway through and up, you're good, because this part is going to affect if you have like a sleeve or if you have a facing, that sort of stuff. It's going to be a lot harder to adjust up here than if you do it on the bottom part that's a little bit more like stable and, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm picking a random spot towards the end of that, and I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Now if you're doing this like on a real pattern, you're going to want to make sure to have seam allowances on everything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just draw an extra like little seam allowance tick on here, so I kind of have like a point of reference. All right, so we have, I'll go ahead and hold this up to myself again. All right, so we have line 1 straight from the dart, line 2 straight up to the bust point, right? Because this is where we're gonna want to expand a little bit, and then straight over here on line number 3 is going to expand from the armhole. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw in my lines. Now you're gonna wanna go up now, from line 2 here, and then clip, and then go all the way up to the seam allowance at the armhole. So I'm gonna go ahead and go all the way up. All right, so now turn it around and clip the other way on your seam allowance. Cool. so now we've got our little hinge going on here. So we're already part of the way through on our full bust adjustment. Now at this point, go ahead and cut this guy. As I said, this is just a standard full bust adjustment that we're doing right now. Leave a hinge there. Cool. So we're ready to do a full bust adjustment, right? First thing you want to do is secure the front piece. Now I'm just taping this down to this piece of, to my board here, just for the purposes of this example, but you can see here, I can start to do my hinging action, right? Like, woo, there we go, it's a hinge. All right, so at this point, you're gonna want to measure out the amount of the full bust adjustment that you have, you know, determined that you need to do. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I have tons of videos that go into that depending on the pattern, but let's say for all intents and purposes, you have decided that you really need to do like a 1-inch full bust adjustment. So what happens as you're opening up your pattern piece is you scoot this open, right? I'm gonna put my ruler here. And you can see that I am essentially lining up this front piece to the side piece parallel. So that is a completely parallel piece. Go ahead and tape it. All right, so what has happened since we've done that? First thing that's happened is the front piece is staying the same length. So this entire front piece of the bodice is completely the same length down. What has also happened is that you have added extra width at the bust point. So you have spread this area apart that allows the breast to come forward. Then you've also moved down the side piece. So this side piece is longer than the front piece. So just keep that in mind as we move to the next sections of these full bust adjustment. You've also, on your side dart, expanded that entire area. Now, if you've been sewing for a little while, you know that once you close this up, this is going to cup. It's going to go around, it's gonna create that little tent feature right across the bust. So, you know, that'll be the result of your dart, and this will be your new dart. Now, the next thing to consider is what else has happened that is kind of distorting the pattern. Like the first thing I mentioned was this front piece is too short, because right now you've expanded area this way, but you still have this front pattern piece is still not enough to go over the cup of the breast. So you're gonna wanna lengthen this down so you actually have the front part equal to the side part, right? So that's where those extra lines come in when they say, it's like, okay, cool. You're going to want to draw this line. And then you're gonna cut it and lengthen it down, right? So you're gonna usually do that to match this bottom edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that down. Cool, so we fixed one of the issues, right? Now we have a front matching piece to the side piece. So at that point you fill in paper here, you fill in paper here, you fill in paper on your dart itself. But you're missing one last thing that has changed since you've done your full bust adjustment. The armhole. So you can see here that I still have a hinge, so that's still a hinge, but you can see that there's like this weird distortion, right? And this is where you take your French curve. I do have a video about that if you've never used a French curve, but you're gonna want ahead and just butt it up against here and then draw out this line in a very smooth curve. That'll allow you not to have like a weird jagged edge right at the armhole, which would hurt if you did that. So having a nice smooth edge there makes it natural, makes it fit against the side of your breast. But this is essentially what happens when you do any full bust adjustment. You're adding width to the side of the pattern right at the bust point, and you're also creating more like that tent feature when you have a bigger dart. So if you're translating this out to another pattern, just keep that in mind, because not all darts and the dart placements are not going to be the same, but you need to be able to recognize that like your full bust adjustment has to create the width for the breast, and it has to create enough of that oomph shape right across the bust point to really make sense for your cup size. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any other questions. As I said, this is a super basic video, but I think it's very fundamental to really understand what is actually happening, like what you're actually looking at as you're doing these adjustments. So definitely leave your questions down below. If you're on Instagram, go ahead and tag me on the photos of your muslins, because I definitely want to see like how these full bust adjustments are working out for you, if this is something that I can kind of like go deeper into in other videos. If you're brand new to sewing, also check out my website, vintageontap.com. /start here, where I like go ahead and I like get all my resources to you if you're brand new to sewing. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, all the places, all the stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.